The air is thin enough to kill. At this altitude, 6 miles above the Japanese capital, the temperature hovers at 40 degrees below zero. Ice crystals form microscopic halos around the winter sun. The horizon curves a pale arc dividing the cobalt dome of space from the brown-gray sprawl of Tokyo Bay below. Inside the pressurized cabin of B-29 Superfortress Dauntless Dottie, Major Robert K. Morgan grips the control yoke with gloved hands. The four Wright R3350 duplex Cyclone engines drone in a constant, thunderous harmony, each 18-cylinder radial spinning at 2,200 RPM, each propeller blade slicing through air so thin that conventional aircraft would tumble from the sky. But Dauntless Dottie is not conventional. She is the future, wrapped in 141 feet of polished aluminum skin, carrying 6 tons of incendiary bombs in her cavernous belly. Morgan's eyes sweep the instrument panel. Airspeed, 220 knots. Altitude, holding steady. Manifold pressure, green across all 4 engines. The artificial horizon shows wings level, nose slightly up. Everything reads normal, but Morgan knows better than to trust normal. They are deep in enemy territory, leading the first major B-29 raid against the Japanese homeland since the Doolittle raid 2.5 years ago. That raid had been a symbolic gesture. 16 B-25 Mitchells launched from an aircraft carrier, hitting Tokyo at low altitude before fleeing to China with barely enough fuel. Today is different. Today, 111 B-29 Superfortresses have flown 1,500 miles from Saipan over open ocean, over enemy waters to hit the Nakajima Aircraft Company's Musashino engine plant in broad daylight, and they are doing it from an altitude no Japanese fighter can reach. Navigator, give me a time check, Morgan says into his throat microphone. Captain James. Whitley's voice crackles through the intercom from his station in the nose compartment, 12 feet forward of the cockpit. 10 minutes to IP Major. Winds are stronger than forecast, 30 knots out of the northwest. Adjusting for drift. Copy that. Morgan glances left through the side window. The formation stretches beside and behind him, a staggered stream of B-29s, each maintaining precise spacing, each loaded with ordnance destined for Japan's war machine. The bombers gleam in the sunlight, their natural metal finish reflecting the sun like a fleet of silver arrows. No camouflage, no attempt at stealth. The designers at Boeing knew these aircraft wouldn't need to hide. In the right seat, First Lieutenant David Chen adjusts the propeller pitch on engine number 3. Oil temperatures climbing on 3, he reports. Still in the green, but I'm watching it. Keep an eye on it, Morgan replies. The R3350 engines are powerfully generating 2,200 horsepower, but they run hot, too hot. Mechanics back on Saipan have been fighting a constant battle with cylinder head temperatures, oil leaks, and the occasional catastrophic failure. 3 B-29s turned back before reaching Japanese waters today. Engine trouble. Always engine trouble. But Dauntless Dottie's engines are holding. For now. Below them, Tokyo is waking to the reality of American air power. Morgan can't see the city clearly from this altitude, just a gray-brown smudge spreading across the Kanto plain, bisected by the darker line of the Sumida River, but he knows what's happening down there. He's read the intelligence reports. Japanese air defense commanders have been tracking the B-29s since they crossed the coastline 30 minutes ago. Radio operators have been screaming warnings across military channels. Air raid sirens are wailing through the streets. Citizens are scrambling for shelter, and Japanese pilots are scrambling for their fighters. 6 miles below, at Takikawa Airfield, Lieutenant Saburo Sakai sprints across the concrete apron toward his Mitsubishi A6M50 fighter. He's 28 years old, one of the Imperial Japanese Navy's most experienced fighter pilots, with 64 confirmed kills. He's survived 3 years of war from the Philippines to the Solomons, from Rabaul to Iwo Jima. He's fought Wildcats and Hellcats, Corsairs and Lightnings. He knows American aircraft. He respects American pilots, but he's never seen anything like this. There at 10,000 meters, his squadron commander shouts as Sakai vaults into the Zero's cockpit. 10,000 meters, 32,000 feet. It's impossible. No bomber should be able to fly that high. Sakai's Zero, stripped of armor and ammunition to reduce weight, can barely reach 38,000 feet under perfect conditions. And reaching that altitude means a slow, agonizing climb, 15, maybe 20 minutes while those American bombers cruise serenely overhead. Sakai's ground crew pulls the wheel chocks. He runs through the startup sequence by memory mixture rich, throttle cracked, magnetos on. The Nakajima Sake 31 engine coughs, sputters, then roars to life. White smoke belches from the exhaust stacks. The Zero trembles, eager to fly. Climb as fast as you can. The radio barks. Hit them before they reach the plant. Sakai releases the brakes and shoves the throttle forward. The Zero leaps ahead, tail rising, lightweight airframe accelerating rapidly. He rotates at 70 knots, and the fighter springs into the air. Gear up, flaps up, nose climbing steeply. The altimeter needle begins its slow, counterclockwise crawl. But even as Sakai climbs, he knows the truth that every Japanese pilot has learned over the past 3 years. Altitude is life. The Americans have it. Japan doesn't, and that simple fact is killing them. At Komazawa Anti-Aircraft Battery, 4 kilometers south of the target area, Master Sergeant Takeshi Yamamoto stands beside his Type 88 75mm anti-aircraft gun. The weapon is elevated to maximum 85 degrees, nearly vertical. The crew has loaded a high-explosive shell with a time-delayed fuse, set for 9,000 meters. It's the highest setting the fuse mechanism allows. Fire, Yamamoto commands. The gun roars. The breech recoils violently. A pillar of smoke and flame erupts from the muzzle. The shell arcs upward, accelerating to 720 meters per second, climbing toward the silver specks crawling across the sky. Yamamoto counts. 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15. At 23 seconds, the shell reaches its apex 9,000 meters, 29,500 feet and detonates. A black puff of smoke appears in the sky, 300 meters below the bombers. Yamamoto's jaw clenches. They've been firing for 10 minutes. Hundreds of shells. Everyone bursts too low. The fuses can't be set higher. The guns can't elevate further. The shells don't have the velocity to reach that altitude before their time-delayed fuses trigger the explosion. The Americans might as well be flying in space. Load another. Yamamoto orders anyway, because what else can he do? Surrender. Watch while American bombs fall on his city. He'll keep firing until his ammunition is exhausted, even if every shell is wasted. The gun crew moves with practiced efficiency. Breech open, shell loaded, breech closed, fuse set. The gun roars again. Another black puff blooms in the empty air. Above them, in dauntless Dottie, Morgan watches the anti-aircraft bursts appear far below. Flak's not even close. He remarks to Chen, "They can't touch us." Chen replies, "Not up here." Bombardier Lieutenant Paul Warfield's voice cuts in from the nose compartment. "IP in 3 minutes. I have the target on radar." Morgan toggles the bomb bay doors control. Hydraulics whine. Red lights flicker to green on the panel. He feels the subtle change in aerodynamics as the doors swing open beneath the fuselage, exposing 6 tons of M69 incendiary bomblets to the slipstream. The Nakajima Musashino plant sprawls across 450 acres below, its workshops and hangars producing the engines that power Japanese fighters and bombers. Today, those workshops are about to burn, but something is wrong. "Major," the tail gunner's voice crackles urgently over the intercom. "Fighters at 6 o'clock level. 305 coming in fast." Morgan's head snaps around. Through the small rear window, he sees them. 5 Zeros, flying in a loose formation, climbing hard. They're still 1,000 feet below dauntless Dottie, but they're closing. "They're trying for us," Chen says quietly. Morgan's hand tightens on the yoke. The mission briefing said Japanese fighters couldn't reach this altitude. Intelligence said their Zeros topped out at 35,000 feet on a good day, and they'd be sluggish, barely controllable up there. But these Zeros are climbing, and they're not giving up. "All gunners," Morgan announces, his voice steady. "We have bandits approaching from 6 o'clock low. Do not fire until they're in range. Conserve ammunition, Bombardier." "How long to drop?" 2 minutes 30, Warfield replies. 2.5 minutes. In a fighter engagement, that's an eternity. But Morgan can't maneuver, not now. Not with the bomb run beginning. The entire formation is committed to a straight, steady approach. Any deviation means missing the target. "Pilot to crew," Morgan says. "We hold course." The formation stays together. "Gunners, make your shots count." In the upper turret, Staff Sergeant Frank Kowalski swivels his twin, 50 caliber Browning machine guns toward the approaching Zeros. The turret is electrically powered, rotating smoothly, the plexiglass dome giving him a 360-degree view of the sky. His hands grip the charging handles. The guns are loaded, cocked, ready. "Come on," he mutters. "Come on, you bastards." Lieutenant Sabro Sakai's Zero claws for altitude, the engine screaming at maximum power. His airspeed bleeds away 180 knots, 170, 160 as the nose pitches higher and higher. The control stick feels mushy in his hands. At this altitude, the air is so thin that his control surfaces barely bite. A gentle bank requires deliberate, exaggerated movements. A sharp turn would stall him completely. The altimeter reads 9,500 meters, 31,200 feet. His zero is shaking, the airframe protesting every meter gained. Frost creeps across the inside of his canopy despite the leather helmet and oxygen mask clamped to his face. Each breath pulls cold, metallic-tasting oxygen from the primitive demand system, a simple mask connected to a pressurized bottle behind his seat. The system is crude compared to American regulators, and Sakai can feel the hypoxia creeping in at the edges of his vision. Gray spots flicker, his thoughts slow, but he keeps climbing. Through the frosted windscreen he can see them, the B-29s, impossibly high, impossibly serene, flying in perfect formation. They look like toys from this distance, like the model airplanes he built as a child in Saga Prefecture, except these toys carry death in their bellies. All fighters, this is lead. His squadron commander's voice rasps through the radio, strained with altitude and exertion. Close to 1,000 meters below the target stream. We attack from below. Single pass. High deflection. Fire all ammunition. Sakai keys his radio. Understood. His voice sounds hollow inside the oxygen mask. 1,000 meters. That's all they can manage. They'll approach from below and behind. Fire at maximum range, while the B-29s are still climbing into the bombing run. Then dive away before the formation's defensive guns can bracket them. It's not a tactic, it's desperation. But it's all they have. Sakai's wingman, Ensign Hiroshi Tanaka, flies 50 meters to his right. Tanaka is 19 years old. He's been a pilot for 7 months. This is his third combat mission. His zero wobbles slightly, he's over-controlling, fighting the thin air, burning energy he can't afford to lose. Steady, Tanaka. Sakai transmits. Small movements fill the airplay. Hi, Lieutenant. Tanaka's zero stabilizes, but Sakai can hear the fear in the young pilot's voice. The B-29 formation is directly overhead now, a silver river flowing east across the sky. Sakai counts them, 20, 30, 40 aircraft, maybe more. Each bomber is massive, dwarfing his zero. Each bomber carries more defensive armament than a small warship, and each bomber is protected by the fortress of altitude. All fighters, attack. The squadron commander's zero rolls inverted and pulls toward the bombers. The other 4 zeros follow. Sakai rolls his aircraft, pulling the nose down and forward in a climbing curve. The angle is wrong to shallow, too far below the bombers, but it's the best he can do. His zero accelerates slightly as gravity assists, but the airspeed increase is minimal. He's fighting physics itself. At this altitude, his fighter has the energy of a kite in a weak breeze. The gunsight reticle floats across the underside of a B-29 range. 800 meters, too far. Japanese 20mm cannons are effective at 300 meters, lethal at 150, but Sakai knows he won't get closer. This is his only chance. He presses the firing button. The two 7.7mm machine guns in his cowling chatter first, firing tracer rounds that arc upward, falling away hundreds of meters short of the target. Then the two 20mm Type 99 cannons mounted in his wings. Booms low, heavy thumps, each shell arcing toward the bombers with a faint spiral of smoke. The recoil shudders through the airframe. Sakai holds the trigger down. The guns fire, the shells climb, and they fall short. Everyone the tracers trace brilliant orange lines through the sky, reaching upward like fingers trying to grasp the sun, then curving away, spent, tumbling back toward Earth. No good. Tanaka's voice cracks over the radio. I can't reach them. Break off. The squadron commander orders. Dive, get below before the radio transmission ends in static. Sakai sees why. The B-29 formation has noticed them. The bombers haven't broken formation. They're too disciplined, too focused on their bomb run, but their gunners have opened fire. Tracers stream from a dozen turrets, red beads of light converging on the climbing zeros. The Americans are firing from 800 meters out, well beyond effective range, but they have ammunition to spare, and some of those rounds are finding targets. 10 not the squadron commander, but the pilot flying on the far left, jerks violently. Smoke pours from its engine cowling. The aircraft rolls inverted and falls away, spinning, the pilot either dead or unconscious. Brake now. Sakai shouts into the radio. He shoves the stick forward and right, rolling his zero into a steep diving turn. The airspeed builds rapidly as he descends 160 knots, 180, 220. The control stick firms up. The aircraft responds. He's back in breathable air, back in an environment where his fighter can actually fight. but the B-29s are untouchable, continuing their bomb run as if the Japanese fighters were nothing more than annoying insects. Aboard Dauntless Dottie, Staff Sergeant Frank Kowalski watches the Zeros peel away. Trailing smoke and desperation, he hasn't fired a single round from his turret. The enemy fighters never came within range. They tried, God knows they tried, but trying isn't enough at 32,000 feet. Bandits breaking off. He reports over the intercom. One smoking. They're done. Good. Major Morgan replies. Bombardier status. 30 seconds to release. Lieutenant Warfield answers from the nose compartment. He's hunched over the Norden bomb sight, his right eye pressed to the rubber eyepiece, his left hand making microscopic adjustments to the drift and rate knobs. The crosshairs in the bomb sight are locked on the target, the Nakajima Musashino plant, its rectangular buildings sharp and clear in the optics despite the altitude. The bomb sight is computing constantly. It factors in airspeed, altitude, wind drift, and trajectory. It's a mechanical computer built from gears, gyroscopes, and mirrors. One of the most closely guarded secrets of the U.S. Army Air Forces. Bombardiers are ordered to destroy their bomb sites with thermite grenades rather than let them fall into enemy hands. Steady, steady, double quotes Warfield murmurs. The target creeps toward the crosshairs. The bomb sight is linked directly to the autopilot system, a feature unique to the B-29, so Warfield, not Morgan, is actually flying the aircraft during these final seconds. Morgan's hands rest lightly on the yoke, ready to take control instantly if needed, but he doesn't interfere. The crosshairs touch the target's center, bombs away. Warfield presses the release button. 6 tons of M69 incendiary bomblets drop from Dauntless Dottie's bomb bay. The aircraft lurches upward, suddenly lighter, rising 50 feet as the weight falls away. Behind her, the other B-29s in the formation release in sequencer cascade of bombs, thousands of pounds of ordnance tumbling toward Tokyo. The M69 incendiary is a simple weapon, a hexagonal steel casing filled with napalm gel and white phosphorus. Each bomblet weighs 6 pounds. Each is designed to penetrate a roof before detonating, spreading burning gel that sticks to wood and flesh and burns at 1000 degrees Fahrenheit. The M69s are bundled in clusters of 38 held together by metal straps until they reach 5,000 feet, where a barometric fuse releases the straps and scatters the bomblets across a wide area. It takes 47 seconds for the bombs to fall from 32,000 feet to the ground. 40-7 seconds of silence. On the ground, Master Sergeant Takeshi Yamamoto sees the bombs falling. They're just black specks at first, barely visible against the bright sky. Then they grow and multiply, and suddenly the air is full of them, hundreds, thousands of tumbling cylinders, spreading as they fall, covering the sky like lethal rain. Incoming, he screams. Take cover. His gun crew scrambles away from the Type 88. There's no point in firing now. The bombers are past them, beyond their arc of fire. The crew sprints toward the nearest bunker, a reinforced concrete shelter 30 meters away. Yamamoto runs. His boots pound the frozen ground. The bunker entrance is a header, dark rectangular opening framed by sandbags. He's 10 meters away when the first bombs hit. The sound is unlike anything he's experienced. Not the sharp crack of artillery or the rumbling boom of naval guns. This is a dense, overlapping crash. Thousands of individual impacts blending into a continuous roar. The ground shakes. The air fills with smoke and fire. An M69 cluster breaks apart directly above the anti-aircraft battery. 38 bomblets scatter across a 100-meter radius. 3 land on the gun position. 1 bounces off the gun shield and detonates, spraying napalm gel across the breech mechanism. The gun catches fire instantly. 2 more bomblets slam into the ammunition stockpiles, 75mm shells stacked in wooden crates. The explosion is enormous. The entire gun position disintegrates in a sphere of orange flame and black smoke. Shrapnel screams outward in all directions. The concussion wave flattens the sandbag walls, strips the roof off the ammunition bunker, and hurls Yamamoto forward like a ragdoll. He hits the ground hard. His helmet flies off. Blood streams from his nose and ears. He can't hear anything except a high-pitched ringing. When he opens his eyes, the world is on fire. The Nakajima Musashino plant is burning. Every building, every workshop, every hangar engulfed in flames. The incendiaries have done their job perfectly. The structures are wood-framed with corrugated metal roofs, designed for efficiency and cost, not fire resistance. The napalm gel burns through the roofs, drops into the interiors, and ignites everything: machines, materials, paperwork, uniforms. Within 2 minutes, the entire 450-acre facility is a sea of fire. Workers who were inside the buildings when the bombs hit are dying. Some burn, some suffocate as the fires consume all available oxygen. Some are crushed by collapsing roofs. Air raid shelters offer no protection. The incendiaries burn so hot that the shelters become ovens, cooking everyone inside. Factory manager Kenji Watanabe crouches in the concrete administration building, watching through a shattered window as his life's work burns. He built this plant. He hired these workers. He increased production month after month, year after year, helping produce the engines that powered Japan's fighters and bombers. He's been working 18-hour days since the war began. He's sacrificed everything for victory. And now American bombers have erased everything in 47 seconds. Sir, his assistant says quietly, we need to evacuate. The fires are spreading. Watanabe doesn't move. He just stares at the flames. They were so high, he whispers, we couldn't reach them. We couldn't even reach them. 6 miles above, Major Morgan banks Dauntless Dottie into a gentle left turn, heading back toward Saipan. The bomb run is complete. The target is destroyed. His crew is uninjured. The aircraft is undamaged. By every measure, the mission is a perfect success. Navigator, give me a heading for home, he says into the intercom. 165 degrees, Major, Captain Whitley replies. Approximately 6 hours to Saipan. We've got a tailwind, should save us some fuel. Morgan adjusts the heading and trims the aircraft. The 4 R3350 engines settle into a steady cruise power setting. The formation begins to spread out slightly as individual crews relax their tight spacing. The danger is past. They're heading home. In the right seat, Lieutenant Chen is quiet. He's staring out the window at the smoke rising from Tokyo, a massive black column climbing into the stratosphere, visible for 100 miles. You okay? Morgan asks. Chen doesn't answer immediately. Finally, I grew up in San Francisco, Chinatown. My parents moved there from Guangzhou in 1920, when Japan invaded China. When we heard about Nanking and Shanghai and all the rest, my father said someone had to stop them. He said America had to stop them. Your father was right, Morgan says. I know he was. But still, ... Chen gestures at the smoke. That's a city down there. People live there. Children. Families. They're building the engines that kill our guys. Morgan replies, his voice harder than he intends. Every plane that comes off that assembly line, every engine they produce, that's American blood. Marines dying on terroir, sailors burning on their ships. We just saved American lives. Dave. Chen nods slowly. Yeah, you're right. But he keeps staring at the smoke. Morgan doesn't push it. Every man processes combat differently. Some compartmentalize. Some rationalize. Some just go numb. Morgan learned that flying B-17s over Europe, before he transferred to B-29s, he's seen good men break, seen them refuse to fly, seen them make mistakes that killed their crews. The mind can only handle so much. Oil temperature on 3 is dropping, Chen says after a moment, his voice professional again, back in the normal range. Good, keep monitoring. The intercom crackles. Pilot, this is Tailgunner. Those Jap fighters are still down there. They're not following us. Morgan isn't surprised. The Zeros burned all their energy trying to reach the formation. Now they're low on fuel, low on ammunition, and 6 miles below the bombers. They can't catch up. They can't climb back. They're helpless. It's a strange kind of air combat one where the enemy fighters are simply irrelevant. Morgan thinks about the pilots in those Zeros, thinks about their frustration and rage. They're brave men, skilled men, but bravery and skill don't matter when the enemy is beyond your reach. The B-29 changed everything. It rendered altitude-based air defense obsolete. Japanese fighters, Japanese anti-aircraft guns, Japanese tactics all useless against an aircraft that could fly higher than anything they had. It's not war, it's technological dominance. Formation is looking good, Chen observes. Everyone made it through. Morgan counts the B-29s in visual range. 11-12. He doesn't know how many are scattered outside his field of view, but the radio chatter suggests most of the formations survived intact. They'll get accurate numbers when they land on Saipan. For now, they're heading home. Mission complete, target destroyed, and 6 miles below, Tokyo burns.